Well, I want to give a big welcome to everyone. I'm just so delighted to be here and that you've also tuned in for Hawthorne University's All About Alumni. And if you're listening for the first time, All About Alumni is a platform that showcases Hawthorne graduates so they're able to share their post-grad activities and accomplishments. And the many ways they're using their Hawthorne education and their practices is nothing short of amazing. We have a variety of nationally accredited degree and certificate programs in Hawthorne. Some are for those that are pursuing a clinical track with the goal of working directly with clients. We have other programs that are dedicated to people that are seeking to primarily educate and write books, develop courses, or offer workshops and programs and do public speaking or teach for a school. And then we have other programs for those who simply want to learn valuable, credible information in a conducive environment. And the success of our students is really the testament to Hawthorne's mission and principles to provide quality, affordable, holistic health and nutrition education. So regardless, we all would love to learn more at Hawthorne, and we're glad that you're joining us here today. I'm your host, Paula Bartholomew. I'm one of the founders of Hawthorne, and it's really such a privilege for me to be able to feature our graduates. So let's get us started today. We're going to feature AJ Wilt. She's a Hawthorne alum from our nutrition consultant training program and founder of Redeemed Image. And so she'll share her unique journey from her hobby to passion to beyond that and embracing the fullness of the nutrition journey. Really, what started as a hobby for AJ quickly morphed into a passion and has taken her much farther than she could have anticipated. She taught her first nutrition class as a volunteer at a local women's prison, and then she started a company in an effort to facilitate a way to further reach her community. AJ would never have guessed her simple hobby would become such a wonderful avenue for pouring back into her community. And whether you're studying nutrition for personal reasons or have goals for a thriving career, I think you'll be encouraged by her story and the simple message of service. Because as AJ says, the nutrition consultant journey need not slip into the mundane or grow stale. There's a fullness that comes to the journey when we allow the science of nutrition and the human aspect to intermingle. So today, we're going to forget about nutrition just for a moment and divert our attention to the wonderful journey it takes us on, specifically AJ's. And while I have the pleasure of interviewing AJ, you certainly have the opportunity to ask her questions directly too. So simply post a question or a comment to the question panel. And just to let you know, we're recording this and we'll post it to our website in just a few days, and you'll find it under archived webinars. All that said, I want to give you a big welcome, AJ.
Hi, Paula. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here, and just all your kind words are so humbling, and this is really exciting.
It's
gotten
exciting.
to listen to some of these.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
I was going to say I've gotten to listen to a few of these before, and didn't think I would be participating. So it's pretty great to be here.
It's really a pleasure. I'm excited to be here too, AJ, and it's really my pleasure to introduce you and have you share your post-grad experiences. So let me tell a little bit about you. AJ completed her Hawthorne University's nutrition consultant program in December 2017, and she graduated summa cum laude. Her passion for nutrition started as a teenager and grew as a result of her various health struggles. And she's the founder of Redeemed Image. She's a certified color analyst, a minimalist, a homesteader, a chronic researcher, an organizer, and a certified volunteer chaplain assistant with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and a holistic nutrition consultant. She started and ran a successful faith-based dorm in the local women's prison, where she also often served in the capacity of unit chaplain. And while volunteering, she realized just how desperately the offender population needed education on nutrition and exercise. And as is said, your gift will make a way. And indeed, her gifts opened a door much wider than she could have anticipated. She was able to host weekly workouts, and many nutrition classes she taught quickly became the unit favorites. AJ started as a nutrition consultant, had a very unconventional beginning, and her passion for the unconventional approach and client has only grown. I love this story, AJ. I'm so pleased you join us, everybody, to be able to hear as AJ continues with it. So AJ, are you ready to share it?
Yes, I am. And just a little bit more about me. So AJ is for AmandaJo. but that gets rather long when you're trying to introduce yourself to people, so I've just shortened it to AJ. I live and was born here in Texas. I did grow up in a city. I actually grew up kind of in the heart of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in a place called Arlington. Any sports fans would know that's where the Dallas Cowboys football stadium is. But it's just right between Dallas and Fort Worth, and I always knew growing up I wanted to live in the country. So now I'm living the country life on a little piece of property. We have chickens, ducks, geese, goats, more barn cats than we know what to do with, and it seems like we always have projects going on. Today already I've wrangled chickens back into their coop. We have welders out working on a fence, and I still have yet to go feed some baby goats at my parents' house down the road. So though it seems the more I learned about nutrition, the more I wanted to have my own livestock and animals that were providing the food we were eating. So that's really where a lot of the motivation came from, to have chickens, instead of paying $8 a dozen for organic eggs, pasture-raised eggs at the grocery store, I can just walk out my front door and go grab some. So that's been a lot of fun. Been married for almost 11 years now. I call him he's my business owning, dirt bike riding worship drummer. So we seem to always have a lot going on. And we don't even have children yet. So right now we have a bunch of fur babies and animals. But it's just been really amazing. He's very entrepreneurial. And that he really helped me in this journey of figuring out, how do I go from ministry to turning this into a business? And so kind of gaining that spirit from him and learning things from my husband, Kyle, has been really an encouragement along the way in this process, going from ministry into business. Yes, thank you, Kyle, if you're listening. You better be listening. And then my background, really, before I went into nutrition, just administration. So I'm very administrative minded, very kind of efficient and organized. I like my spreadsheets and, all those kinds of things. They do. They keep you organized. They keep you going. And then you get the satisfaction of crossing stuff off that list, So we're heavy ministry involvement, both my husband and I. So the prison ministry was something that I did a lot on my own. It was a women's unit that I would go into. He had come a few times and actually played a couple worship sets in the prison, and that was really neat. But then together we did motocross ministry. So he was actually what they called a pit pastor. And so he would race and also minister. We would have little devotional sessions where we would share about the Lord. And then at quite a few of the races, I was the announcer. So pretty random background, especially when you think about if we're supposed to be talking about nutrition, but that's kind of who I am and the things we have going on right now. So
it's great background. So and very Texas, very Texas.
It is very Texas, yes.
Right.
And yesterday was actually my birthday, and so for my birthday I received my husband got me this cute little Texas shaped ring. So of course it just goes right along with it all. So
absolutely. Happy birthday, AJ.
Oh, thank you.
Let's have you talk a little bit about when did it start that you first became interested in nutrition?
Well, so really, as a child, I had many health challenges. So allergies, migraines, digestive issues. I went through, there was kind of this migraine cycle of, okay, my head hurts, then the next thing is, getting sick, and then kind of that curled up on the bathroom floor, falling asleep cycle as a child. And we really didn't have any answers. We didn't know what to do. I had terrible digestion. I didn't know as a young child, how frequently you should be having certain, bowel movements and different things. I didn't know anything. So my childhood, it really affected school. I would miss quite a bit of school, or I would be at school and I would be so drowsy from allergy medication or whatever it was that I could hardly stay awake during my classes. So, as a child, that was really a struggle. And when I went into high school, I started learning things I took my first health class, kind of one of those mandatory classes you have in high school. And I was amazed. It was like, wow, if I just cut out some calories, cut out some salt and fat, just kind of those government standards they were teaching all those years ago in health class. Right. I was like, I could lengthen my life, and I still hadn't connected the pieces of solving my health issues with nutrition. But it was exciting to just know that there was a way to lengthen life that way. So, but the problem was that at that time, your knowledge is so small, and it's really focusing more on taking things away instead of focusing on nourishment. So, in high school, it was, okay, we just need to reduce calories. We need to, reduce fat, reduce salt, instead of, hey, we should be eating this amount of protein, or you should be focusing on these macros and everything. But it continued on. I still had health challenges as an adult. I had adult acne. Didn't really have much acne as like a teenager, but then all of a sudden, here I am, a grown woman, and I've got this terrible acne, these excruciating menstrual cramps, anxiety, sciatica pain, exhaustion, and I just didn't know what to do. So everything kind of started with real casual research, because the doctors were proving to be no help. I was in need of answers, and so I even had my doctor diagnosed me as a hypochondriac, which was so infuriating to me, because what I was feeling was real. I was having real pain, so we would go and I'd have MRIs, and I'd have scans of my back and of my legs and this and that and the other, and I'm just the picture of health according to their standards. And so from there, it was kind of just, what do I do? And so you know how it is. If anyone who has struggled, you finally will reach a point of being fed up that you look, and you try to find something yourself.
But a diagnosis of a hypochondriac is so cruel, and it's really a reflection. They could have said, I just don't know, because that was the truth, instead of putting a label on it like that. So quite unfortunate, but.
Yes.
They could have said, well, this sounds like a microbiome imbalance and a hormone imbalance.
Yes. And at least, because sometimes we just want a diagnosis. Sometimes you just want someone to say, you know what, it could be this, instead of just hearing, no, it's in your head, nothing's wrong with you. Sometimes you become just so desperate that you're like, you know what, I'd rather him just say I have some terrible disease, just so I know what I'm up against. Just so I can get a plan of action here. Exactly. But so then it really went from a hobby to a passion, because shortly after, so my husband and I were married in 2009, about 6 months after our wedding, my father-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 brain and lung cancer. So all of the little health challenges I had been facing, all of a sudden they just paled in comparison to what we were up against. But it was exciting in the sense of we knew what we were fighting, right? So no longer is it like I'm dealing with these quote unquote hypochondriacs and I'm making these things up. Now it's like, okay, we have an answer, or we have a name. It's cancer. So what do we do to fight that? What do we do? How do I research in nutrition? And it was every spare moment, went to reading every single thing that I could get my hands on in an effort to help my father-in-law. Just to be a newlywed, we're just trying to figure out how to be married, And then all of a sudden here we get this life-altering information that my father-in-law, at the time, they had said he'd be lucky to make it 3 months. It was a very terrible thing to hear.
Sure.
But he had the personality of, if you can find me some answers, we're going to implement it, you know? And so he implemented various nutritional protocols. He ended up living twice as long as anticipated. So he actually made it over 6 months. And he passed in 2010, shortly after our 1-year wedding anniversary, which was tragic, you know, just absolutely tragic to have that happen. But even in that short time, everything, you know, I had read so much and we had gained so much more knowledge that it was encouraging to know that, hey, we really can fight this big C word with nutrition. You know, there's things that can be done to help.
Right.
Then, you know, so that really had thrust me into it being a passion. But then about a month after my father-in-law's passing, my mother-in-law also was diagnosed with the same thing. So she also had brain and lung cancer. And after you go through, you know, being a caretaker and, you know, and all of these things, and meanwhile, we still are trying to figure out how to just be married. You know, we were like, okay, everything, let's get back on track. We were going to be looking for a home and all of this. And then here my mother-in-law is also sick. And so my desire for nutritional information in the battle against cancer, it just continued to increase. So cancer and longevity became kind of my primary area of knowledge and interest, really. It was just everything I could get my hands on, right? And so anyone who's struggled with something, you know, whether they have diabetes or high blood pressure, you know, when you have something going on with a family member or yourself, a lot of times you will just, you know how it is. We get online and we look for everything we can. We find all the books on the subject and you just really start digging. And so after seeing this happen to both of my in-laws, that's where I was at. So my mother-in-law ended up passing about 6 weeks before our 3-year wedding anniversary. So really the first 3 years of our marriage was focused on caring for his parents and just learning everything that we could. Because at that time, you know, I'm looking at, okay, this happened to both my in-laws. They were both the exact same age when they passed away, very young at 53. And so I'm thinking, well, what do I need to do? What do we need to know to prevent my husband from going down this path, you know? And so that's really just where it kind of got thrust into a serious passion of mine.
Gosh,
kind
AJ,
of don't know.
This is, you know, it's a very tender story, of course, and a very challenging way to start a marriage, but there's no there's no one way to start a marriage, and this could only have strengthened and deepened your commitment to each other and to family and to your purpose in life. And so while very, very difficult, I applaud you both for persevering and approaching it the way that you did together with love and resolve and determination. So
thank you. Yes, and we really, it's the Lord, you know, I believe on the Lord, and he strengthened us through that time. We came together and there were times we just didn't know what to do, you know, so we just had to turn to the Lord and say, you're in control. We know that we're going to get through this. Everything's going to be okay, and just rely on him. And kind of one of the things that even back then, even before I really started on the official nutrition journey of, you know, going to school, I was able to see they both had very different personalities. So my father-in-law was, you know, hey, let's do whatever we can do to keep me healthy. Okay. My mother-in-law, when faced with mortality, said, you know what? I want to have a party. Let's go out just having a good time, you know? She said, I made it this far. Let's just have some fun.
What great attitudes from both of them, though, you know, really.
Yes, yes. And that they both kind of owned what they wanted to do, that was something that's helped me now in my nutrition consulting, because there are going to be different personalities, and there are different personalities that come into your consulting. Whenever, you're going to have people who say, you give me a plan, I'm going to follow it to the T. Then I have other clients who look at me and say, okay, I'm not meal prepping. What's the best option at this fast food restaurant for me? And they're being themselves,
Right.
And it's
a very honest question.
Very honest. And so kind of learning that back then really helped now to know that I can't, even though I want everyone to be healthy and, we can come up with these great plans for everyone, not everyone's really that interested in the perfect plan. They just want to do what's best for them. And so that was definitely a learning journey.
So AJ, you're going from hobby to passion here, and that must have led you to education. So what was your search like for a school, and how and why did you choose Hawthorne?
Well, so I chose Hawthorne because I needed to continue learning. I felt I had exhausted all my resources, and I needed direction. I needed some structure. I needed something that was flexible because of my involvement in the prisons. So it was just one of those things. I can't even actually remember how I came across Hawthorne. I'm just going to give it to the Lord that it was a divine intervention that while I was searching, I came across Hawthorne because, I had, I'd run out of material, and I really just liked the holistic approach that Hawthorne has. I came across all of these nutritional programs that I felt like were still teaching the same things that I had learned in that first health class in high school.
Right.
And I thought, well, surely nutrition has made some progress. Surely there's been some new scientific discoveries with different nutrients and vitamins and all kinds of things in the body even. So really I needed something fresh. And the holistic approach at Hawthorne was perfect because I wasn't trying to go necessarily into a clinical hospital setting. It really was just for my own enrichment. Whenever I had enrolled, I did the online program, and I was matched up with my professor, Dr. Carson, and she made the biggest difference in this entire journey, which really kind of solidified my decision to be with Hawthorne, stay at Hawthorne, and that it was the right school for me, because she was so passionate about nutrition and about people. So we would go through the classes, and then, you have your conference with her after you submit all your information, all your different assignments. And it wasn't just okay, you did well on this, you did well on that. She wanted to know about me. She wanted to know how I was doing, how life was going, and encourage me. She had abundant resources. So everything she came across, from nutrition apps that were convenient to the latest studies of, that we might find interesting as her students, she would send them to us. And I just felt like that said so much about Hawthorne, to see that they were hiring quality instructors that really had a passion for nutrition and for their students, and not just, okay, here's your information, let's move on, So like I had said, it was originally for my own enrichment. I had no intention of teaching, starting consulting, starting any type of business. I just wanted to be as well equipped as possible for me and my husband's future going forward. Given the background with his parents, I wanted to make sure that I was equipped to guide us through life being as healthy as possible. So really it was just what started as a way for me to serve my family, morphed into me wanting to serve the community with different health information. And the Lord just had much bigger plans.
Right. So how did that dovetail into starting your nutrition consulting journey?
So it was all behind prison walls. I was volunteering very frequently at a local women's prison, telling them the truth of the gospel. I facilitated a lot of Bible studies, and I preached while I was taking my classes online through Hawthorn. So I was teaching the Bible, doing all of those kind of ministry things in the prison while I'm continuing my education with Hawthorn. And I still hadn't yet connected the dots of, hey, you could be teaching as you're learning, you could be sharing this with the women in the prison.
Yes.
So then I was hired actually by a nonprofit to restructure their faith-based jail program to better fit the prison setting. So a local nonprofit who did all types of educational courses behind prison walls. Their program was for a jail setting. So it's a much quicker turnover in a jail. It's not prisons. The unit I was at, they had to at least be there for, I think, 2 years, with the max being 3.5 years, because it was a pre-parole facility. So I completed my CVCA training with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And just the time that I was spending in the prison just kept increasing and increasing. And so it was at that time that I realized just how uninformed the offender population was about nutrition, because they would find out, oh, you're taking nutrition classes, and oh, you've been studying this for many years, and they would start asking me questions. But some of them seemed so basic that I thought, well, doesn't everyone know this at least? And maybe after you study something for so long, you think that more people, when something becomes common knowledge to you, you kind of forget that you really had to go through a long period of studying.
That is so
even
true.
Just the basics.
It's so true.
Yeah. So I was like, my heart just became so burdened with sharing as much information as I could with these women who are incarcerated. And so, yes, it was a very unconventional start to my nutrition consulting journey, teaching my first class behind prison walls. But even just seeing what they eat while incarcerated was tough to watch, because a lot of it is soy-based, so there's really not much meat, and everyone has their own opinions, I guess, on soy and different things, but I felt as if there were all these women who were having a lot of hormonal issues, and their menstrual cycles were all out of whack, and their emotions were up and down. And so, of course, they are incarcerated. There's some different things going on, but nutritionally, I felt as if a lot of the food being provided was not helping anything.
Absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about how you started your company and about the services that you're offering.
Redeemed Image, I say, was born. The name came about, it's funny because I say a passion, some meditation, and a treadmill, because I had become so enamored kind of with this conflict of, I was going into the prisons, women are learning about the redemption that comes through Jesus Christ and the fullness that we can have with life through him, but yet upon being released, they were not walking fully in that redemption. And so a lot of times when you're incarcerated, you're in the jumpsuit, right? So you can be gaining weight, your body can be changing, and you don't quite realize it. Then these women, they get out, they go home, and boom, none of their clothes are fitting them. They are feeling discouraged already because you're starting from ground zero once you're released. And I really wanted to provide a way to help them understand that it's okay, it's a fresh start, be excited about it, and provide them with a makeover, provide them with services so that when they got out, they could have a wardrobe ready, they could, ladies could get their hair done and their nails done. And so I was just walking on the treadmill one day, just thinking and meditating on his redemption. Lord, why are these women not walking in the redemption that you've given them? And just thinking, and I was like, you've given me this idea for a ministry, and you've given me this passion and this burden. I need a name. And so I'm walking on the treadmill, and I'm just thinking, redeemed, I'm redeemed, just we're redeemed. And then all of a sudden, image came, and he said, it's a redeemed image that we need to be walking in. And that's how the name came about. So the thing is, the prison closed, and so here I was, passionate, I started this ministry. We had done some makeovers for a few women as they were exiting the unit, and then all of a sudden the prison closes. Well, it's kind of, you think, oh my goodness, well, now where am I going to minister? But really what it is the offender population in Texas had gone down so much they no longer needed that unit, which is a great success in the eyes of people doing prison ministry, because it lets us know lives are changing and the recidivism rate is going down. So recidivism is when someone is incarcerated and then they re-enter into society, but then end up going back into incarceration. Right. And so the recidivism rate was really high, and it's been dropping. And so the prisons are just not as full. But now what was I going to do? He gave me this great idea for a ministry, but what do I do now? And the Lord, I felt, had instructed me it was time to go ahead and start a business. So you kind of go through that building phase, right? And thankfully I had my husband to guide me through kind of the process and give me some pointers that, you go and you get your doing business as. It's different probably state by state. Here sure in Texas, we can do a DBA, which is just a sole proprietorship that you can get. And, then you start establishing bank accounts. And all those things are fine and dandy, they're kind of a necessity. But what's really fun was when you need a logo designed, right? So I couldn't wait to get a logo designed, and used one of those platforms where you can have a bunch of different creatives submit their ideas of what your logo should look like. I had an idea, and they were able to just kind of hit the nail on the head and give me a beautiful logo. And then the intimidating part of building a website. So kind of sitting down and looking at a blank screen and thinking, what kind of website, how do I want to present this to the world? Because that's what they're going to see. So going through those things is fun, but it can be a challenge. And so the services, I say services and service. That's right. So the service, yes. So the services I offer, of course, nutrition consulting. And one of the important things for me to do was to create packages where clients could actually have a monthly payment where they could extend their treatment out, their payments out for the different, I say treatment, but just for different consulting over the course of a year or 2 years. Because I do use blood work. I like to use labs to check for food sensitivities, check for vitamin deficiencies, especially if there's a lot of different symptoms that are presenting with a client. And those can be very pricey, especially when you're not accepting insurance, and these are kind of out-of-pocket costs for your client. And so that was something that was really important to me, and probably most of my time went into figuring out those things for, to be able to provide that for my clients. And Image consulting is probably the most interesting thing to be paired up with nutrition consulting, but I feel like it fits perfectly for what we do at Redeemed Image. So really image consulting is just color analysis. So when you had read off my kind of about me, talking about minimalists and chronic researcher and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to wardrobe, I want to have a nice, clean looking closet. I don't want it over cluttered, and I want to feel good in everything that I put on. And that was also what I wanted for the women leaving the prison,
Mm-hmm.
that we could provide them with a mix and match wardrobe that suited them, that they looked wonderful in, and gave them options. And so learning which colors look best on you. I think they also did something like this. I think it was big maybe back in the 80s. But it's totally been revamped and is back with a whole new goal. Instead of just 4 seasons, as they call it, that you can fit into, now there's up to 28 with the one that I use called Color Breeze. And so our in-home services, they are, we can come in, help decorate, we can help people get organized. The biggest thing is helping clients with home detoxes. So a lot of times you have clients with symptoms and things are going on, and we look at the nutrition. We have them on supplements. They're on a diet plan. They're doing the things they need to be doing, but something is still off. And it's then that I'm curious to see the health. Where are you sleeping? Where are you working? What are you exposed to? And then we have group classes, so where I can come in and teach just on anything from prison ministry to nutrition, budgeting. And so really this is all mirrored after what I was doing in the prisons, basically teaching the women it's more of a life coaching, really, of what do you need to know to be successful in life and be healthy. Our fees, so it's $100 for an initial 1-hour consultation. We do $50 for a follow-up 30-minute consultation. Image consulting ranges anywhere between $50 and $300, just based on if you decide to get the color swatches that you can take with you while you shop. In-home services, it's a $50 fee for a 1-hour consultation. Normally they can gain a lot of insight. So sometimes people just need some pointers. Hey, you should probably do this with this wall. You could organize your furniture this way. Things are going to look a lot better. And then, of course, group classes vary. But the heart of it all is service. So we realize that, yes, we offer these services, but it's because we want to be able to offer all of these things to our community free of charge. And so that's really the goal of Redeemed Image, is just to be able to pour back into our underserved communities free of charge. And so, yeah, that's what we offer.
Fabulous. So you're doing nutrition consulting. Are you doing both one-on-one and groups?
Yes. So primarily one-on-one right now. I have not had as many group sessions, but it is something that, on occasion you'll have a husband and wife who are both interested, and so you can kind of sit down, or they'll include their children whenever you go to their home. So see, what I do is mobile. I don't have an office that I practice out of. I do prefer to remove any inconveniences for my clients. So doing Skype calls or, online calling, or going to a place where they feel comfortable. Sometimes just meeting for dinner, having it be very casual, and something where they don't feel like they're going to a doctor's office, because even if they know they're only going to see a nutritionist, well, then it's all of a sudden, they brag on, oh, well, I ate all these salads this week, and, they start trying to perform. But if it's more of a comfortable setting, like, hey, pick a restaurant, let's go there, let's hang out and talk a little bit, I can kind of see some of their habits while they eat, because a lot of times people with digestive issues, I've noticed they just aren't chewing their food well enough. So kind of being, yes, so kind of being in just an environment that's comfortable for them really just puts people at ease, and you're able to facilitate a better relationship with your client, in my opinion. And
well, it also
they
seems
look at
that
you.
I'm sorry. Seems like your mission really is to empower your clients.
Yes, yes, it is. I want them to basically not need me. As backwards as that may sound, I want them to be invested in their health. They're going to be their greatest health advocate, and I can teach them everything I know, but in the long run, it's their daily choices and their daily motivation that is going to keep them going.
With your support, right?
Yes, they always know that I am a phone call, email, or text away, and I have quite a few clients that will just text me, hey, I ate this, I don't know what's going on, I'm feeling this way or the other, and we can get it sorted out, right then. So pretty wonderful.
Wonderful. So what are some of the successes that you've experienced and some of the challenges too that you faced? We all face these things. So can you talk about that a bit?
Yes. So the journey, it's full of challenges and successes. Definitely, probably one of the biggest challenges I've faced is the challenge of perfectionism, right? Whenever you go from ministry to a business, you're thinking, okay, I want to be able to present this in its best light, and everything. And so that really can lead to overwhelm, though. When you're trying to have everything just so before you even get started, you're really going to give yourself kind of a tough time. And so even having all the different protocols, right? So there's so many different issues that our clients will come to us with, from digestion to cholesterol issues, you name it. They come to you and they're seeking help. Trying to have a protocol in line for every single one of those things before you even get started, it's a little unrealistic. As in the beginning, as clients come to you, there might be, you might have prepared all these protocols for conditions that you haven't seen and maybe you won't see. A lot of times I'm dealing, with clients who have, anxiety and those kinds of things. And so it's kind of, well, let's look at your environment. Let's look at what you're eating. Maybe you have a food sensitivity. Whereas I don't really have many clients with diabetes for whatever reason, and so if I had sat and taken all this time to make a protocol for someone who has diabetes, oh, you should eat this, you should do that, well, then all of a sudden I've kind of wasted some time. So you don't have to have it all figured out before you start, and that was definitely a challenge for someone with my type A leanings.
But we're also working with personalized nutrition, so it's hard to have, you have a basic protocol for sure, but it's always personalized to the individual and their needs.
Yes. And it's just so interesting, when you're trying to do it all at once. I would say that was my biggest challenge, was just trying to have everything perfect, and it doesn't need to be. And really the successes along the way, I learned how to enjoy the entrepreneurial process and the joy of creating something. So you go from nothing, it's just, oh, well, I've graduated, I have this certificate, and now how do you get from point A to point B, because it can look so intimidating, oh, I need a website, I need social media, I need all my paperwork for, getting health histories and this and that and the other. And it's like, where do you start? And you have to count each one of those little accomplishments as a success. Otherwise, you'll just feel overwhelmed. And so that's really where the shift was for me, was just doing that. And then just, I learned that the more I serve, the more successful I feel. And so the more I was able to provide my services personally free of charge, the more joy I was receiving and the more success I felt from the journey. And one of the big things was I wanted us to focus on our clients, not science. Something we need to be aware of is that we don't want to be worshiping nutrition when we need to be serving our clients. And that's kind of one of the things that when you are a researcher and you love reading about the latest science, you can almost slip into a use your client to serve science instead of use the science to serve your client mindset. And so that was one of the things along the journey, that it's, you know, just learning to be aware of that for me, that certain science, you know, it's not going to work for everybody because they're so individual. So where, you know, certain studies say this, you know, this food is great or this one isn't, well, then all of a sudden you have clients and it doesn't work for them. So focusing on serving them and not kind of focusing on the science all the time with something, and during this journey that's been really important. But also not to be afraid of the journey, because it is very different for all of us. You know, I never thought my start would be my own health challenges and then seeing my in-laws go through what they went through. Never thought I would be teaching nutrition behind prison walls, and didn't think I would start a company, but here we are.
Indeed, there you are. Here you are.
Yeah.
Well, what is your current focus as a nutrition consultant? Where are you going now?
So I just want to be a gateway of hope to others on their health journey. You know, I really want to build confidence in my clients that I am their number one cheerleader, and I'll do my best to find them answers, and even if those answers don't include me. So nutrition, yes, I believe everyone really does need some type of nutrition consulting, a little bit of guidance in that area. But there's only so much that I can help, you know. Now, if there's other alternative practitioners, you know, that I know, or someone that I can recommend them to, or it's like, hey, we aren't seeing results just with the nutrition piece of the puzzle, you might want to check out some other avenues. That's my focus, is to just serve in that way. And I really want to facilitate a desire in the nutrition community for authenticity between the clients and the consultants. So kind of how I was talking about just that casual setting, because, you know, sitting, like I say, here with a friend for a chat about life, it's always much more pleasurable than being questioned to the hills about all your bad habits, right? So if we can kind of shift our encounters with our clients to a place that feels a little more authentic, I think that is one of my goals. I know, especially with my clients, I tell them it's like, you know, no, I don't eat perfectly all the time. You know, there are times where at the holidays, did I have some sugar and some sweets? Yes. And do I feel guilty? No, I don't. And they shouldn't either. Just kind of being real, because I know that so many of my clients, when we would meet, it's like all of a sudden they want to mind their P's and Q's and, oh, tell me about all the vegetables they ate. And it's like, no, let's be real with each other. You know, if you ate the hamburger from Whataburger, you know what? I hope you enjoyed it. You know, just do it. It's so being more authentic and just encouraging community service. I really would love for more men and women in the nutrition industry to just find a place in their community where they can get plugged in. You know, whether that's at a retirement home where they're teaching the elderly about the importance of B vitamins and protein consumption, or, you know, going into a local prison or a daycare, maybe a pregnancy center, you know, where they could go and just share some knowledge with women who are expecting, you know, ways to nourish themselves, to help nourish their children. That's what I would really hope, and that's my focus now, is that I just want other people in the nutrition arena to find ways to affect their community.
Beautiful, beautiful, well said. So what's next? Do you have future goals on this nutrition journey?
What's next? So nonprofit status is the next step for Redeemed Image. So I just would really like there to be a dramatic increase in the amount of service that we're able to provide to kind of the local community. And of course, whenever you can give a tax refundable receipt to somebody, you know, their donations will be more abundant. And so with that, nonprofit status means more donations and more ability to pour it back into the community, whether that be in the form of free vitamins or makeovers or, you know, decorating someone's home, whatever it is. That's kind of the next stage. And then never thought I would be considering it, but getting my doctor of chiropractic is kind of on the table right now. And that's not something I ever thought that the nutrition journey would lead to. But that's where it seems to be headed right now. So I'm actually in the process of kind of changing a little bit of what I offer and a little bit of what I do through Redeemed Image, just to free up the time for maybe this next part of the journey. And it would pair so well with my nutrition background and being able to provide that service. So it's
nice combination.
It's exciting. Didn't think that it would ever come to this, but excited to see where the next steps are. And I hope that anyone who is studying nutrition, contemplating studying nutrition, or maybe has already graduated, don't limit yourself to that. Let the journey just be full. Don't limit yourself. And you can always find other things that will support your passion for nutrition as you serve your communities and find other ways to serve the people around you.
Beautiful, beautiful closing advice there, AJ. You've offered so much here. I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. Can you share your contact information?
Yes. So Redeemed Image, and there you can see the logo I was so proud of that they made. It's just AmandaJo Wilt, AJ at redeemedimage.com. My local number is listed there in my P.O. box. And something I did want to offer to everyone at Hawthorne is just a half price on color analysis. When you graduate and you're trying to put together business cards and you're going to be putting your face on things or on your website, I just feel that the confidence that comes with knowing that you are in what makes you look your best, it's kind of invaluable, especially when you're going to be spending money on the things that you're printing. And so that was something that if anyone's interested, they could send me an email from their Hawthorne email, and we can get those details all sorted out for them.
Beautiful. Just a wonderful offer. You know, some graduates may want to contact you and they wouldn't be using their Hawthorne email anymore, so just be aware of that. Well, in that case, would they just tell you that they are a Hawthorne grad?
Yes, that would be perfect.
Right. Beautiful. Wonderful gifting. Thank you, AJ. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you, Paula.
Doing this interview together and having you share your journey. What a powerful journey you have. So I certainly hope you'll visit us again and continue to share your good works and let us know what you're up with and how chiropractic school is going and the people that you're serving and how that's changing lives in very positive and productive ways. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Before we leave, I just want to say that we will come back again for our next All About Alumni after the holidays, which includes January 1st. We won't be meeting on January 1st, so I'll be back here on Wednesday, February 5th, 2020, live with Dr. Sheila Dean, who's a graduate from Hawthorne's unique Doctor of Science program. So meet me back here then. And just a reminder that we've had so many fantastic Hawthorne graduate presentations and here on All About Alumni. So you can avail yourself of those and explore our archived webinars on our website and view their presentations too. I want to wish you all the best of health and encourage you to take good care. It matters. Thank you again, AJ.
Thank you, Paula.
Take good care, everybody.